Hello friends, my name is Palomore, and I want to start off the video first by saying thank you so much for all the support. I've taken it into consideration, and I've got a new studio mic, I've got a green screen, a new office all together. What's up, dude?
What? What do you mean? What's up? You're in my house. What? You thought?
Are we hanging out tonight?
What do you mean? You're in my studio here.
Yeah, no, I think I want to text you, bro.
How did he get in here? How does he keep getting in here?
Alright guys, so in today's video, we're going to be covering some sub-rogue stuff, really helpful basic stuff, but as well it's going to be really helpful to even some experienced players. We're going to be covering sub-rogue openers and I guess just CC management in terms of arena. Really quickly before I dive into the actual content, I just want to point out that only 13% of my actual viewer base is subscribed to the channel, so if you find yourself coming back here a lot, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. On top of that, my Twitch stream has been doing insanely well. I actually just applied for partnership over there. If you would be interested in catching me on stream, you can catch me at twitch.tv/ipalomore. But without further ado, let's jump into the content, guys. Okay, so my plan for the video format is going to be something that's digestible, easy to understand, but also I don't want to waste your guys' time, like always, so we'll jump right into it. I'm going to break down Rogue CC in kind of the format of, going over what it is, going over how to use it, what target you should use what CC on, and what order should you use your CC as a sub-rogue. I guess first, so we'll jump right into it, let's talk about what rogues actually have as CC sub specifically. So, we have a couple tools. The main big ones that we have are going to be Sap from Stealth, Kidney Shot, and Cheap Shot and Blind. So Cheap Shot and Kidney kind of go hand in hand as our stuns. Blind standalone and Sap is more standalone. And then we also have two ones that are a bit more complex, but they're still technically CC, and that is Smoke Bomb and Shadowy Duel. So in terms of what actually shares diminishing returns, the only things that DR with each other is Kidney Shot and Cheap Shot. Anyways, let's talk about how to actually use our CC effectively. I think it's safe to say one of the biggest things that I've noticed through coaching, and one of the biggest things I've noticed in general through trying to help other rogue players, is not using CC effectively. And what I mean by this is almost just not using it at all. It seems like newer rogues have a very big habit of saving their cooldowns, when in reality, being successful in arena and PvP in general really comes from using your cooldowns. I always have this saying that, it's better to use a cooldown and make a bad play instead of, losing an arena and not even using the spell at all. What I mean by this is when an arena starts, ideally, you want to get your blind out early. A lot of the time, a healer is very likely going to, trinket a blind. So if you start the arena and you get your blind out really early, you're dealing with a trade-off right there. You're sacrificing your blind to guarantee you're going to get the healer's trinket right off the bat. Some people look at this as a bad thing and go, oh, well, the healer still has trinket. I want to save blind for when he does not. But in reality, if you play like that, you'll probably just never get his trinket, and you'll probably never get a kill opportunity. So tip number one for the video, I guess, would be making sure we're using blind early. And in general, we are actually using all of our CC. We have a lot of CC as a sub-rogue. It's actually unbelievable how long we can kind of lock down a healer, or just lock down a player in general. Now, before I dive into actual arena footage and kind of overview some of that gameplay, I want to talk about something else specifically to subtlety rogues, and this is something that people seem to get really confused about, so this should clear up a lot of things. A lot of sub-rogues ask me, when do I use Kidney Shot? And the thing is, as a sub-rogue, you're generally going to use Kidney Shot as CC. As both Assassination and Outlaw, you're usually going to end up Kidney Shotting the kill target, but since Subtlety Rogues have Shadow Dance, 2 Shadow Dance charges, we get lots of re-stealths, we have a stupid amount of access to Cheap Shot, which means anytime we need to lock down a kill target, we can easily spam Cheap Shots out. Kidney Shot lasts longer than Cheap Shot, so being able to go off to the side and throw a Mark for Death Kidney Shot on a healer is a really quick, really good access to CC that we can really utilize as a sub-rogue. So in the background, I have a clip playing, and I kind of just want to get across one point, and that is at the end of the day, rogues have really good access to CC, but in the middle of combat, the only real big tool they have to set up a big chain is going to be blind. But what you'll find is after you use your blind, you're not just going to get a sap off in combat. You can't kidney shot into a sap. So what I'm really trying to hammer home here is that as a sub rogue, you really need to be aware of your teammates and how to play around them. In the middle of the game, if the healer has no trinket on the enemy team and you have no blind, that doesn't mean you can't CC them. That just means you need to work with your teammates. So if you go Mark for Death Kidney, a healer, and then Shadow Dance and Cheap Shot the kill target, this basically creates a cross CC, which means both of the targets on the enemy team are CC'd, and it will allow your partner to follow up the kidney shot. So if I'm playing with a mage, since I kidney the healer and cheap shot the DPS, my mage is free to cast a polymorph on the healer out of the cheap shot. This way he can polymorph before the healer's out of the kidney. There's no way the healer can do anything about it, and then the kill target will be stunned and they can't stop him either. Or if you're playing with the hunter, they could even chain that into a freezing trap. I think learning to play around this synergy is a really important part of Rogue, because like I said, outside of blind, we can't really do these huge CC combos alone, and you'll start to realize you need to rely on, your Holy Pally to follow up with Repentance. You need your mage to cast Polymorph. You need your priest to come in and use Fear. All of these kind of things. So now I'd like to show you guys kind of an ideal opener in terms of playing versus a healer DPS in 2v2. And it would look something like this. So obviously this is a rogue out front of Orgrimmar. Just pretend that the rogue is a healer and pretend there's an invisible DPSer right here. So the opener would look something along the lines of a kidney on the DPS and go into a dance and start bursting on the DPSer. As soon as the kidney ends, you want to go ahead and throw a blind, and then outside of that blind, you're going to end up sapping. Ideally, you're going to sap as many times as you can while you're in Shadow Dance, but you need to keep in mind that the enemy can trinket out of this at any point in time. So your goal here is not necessarily just to CC long enough to get the kill, but your goal is to either try to get the kill or at least trade cooldowns. You want to make sure that you're going to get the enemy healer's trinket. You need to make sure that you're going to get the enemy's DPSer's defensive cooldowns. Alright, so a question I feel like a bunch of you might be wondering is, why do we start with kidney shot instead of starting with a sap on the target? And the real reason, to keep it really simple, is because most of the time in 3v3 arena, a healer is going to try to rush getting into combat right away. It's much more reliable to get into a habit of throwing a Mark for Death kidney onto the healer right off the bat and then going into your opening rotation instead of really relying on a sap. If you can start with a sap, it can be okay, but there are still some other reasons why you might want to start with a kidney. So one of those reasons is because Mark for Death and kidney shot are very low cooldowns. So if you're starting with an MFD kidney, you're putting that right on cooldown right away. You'll have it back up in no time. Another thing is doing a Mark for Death kidney costs substantially less energy than it would to do a cheap shot or a sap on the target. The other thing is, between blind, sap, and kidney, kidney is the only ability where you need to actually be in melee range, meaning if you throw a kidney on your target, you can basically stay on top of the DPS target you're trying to land a kill on the whole time, and you can just kind of turn to the side and throw a blind, turn to the side and throw a sap. You don't need to fully run away from the target that you're trying to stay locked onto. Alright, so this leaves me with one more little section, kind of a miscellaneous ending section before we wrap it up. And there's two more things. So one is, I get the question a lot, what do I do when I get knocked out of stealth? Because as a rogue, sometimes it happens, an unholy DK will pop his abomination and pull you out. And my best advice is, get into your Shadow Dance right away and act as fast as possible. The second you're out of stealth as a rogue, you become a very vulnerable target, and the last thing you want to do is panic. It's better, like I said in the intro, it's better to do something bad than to do nothing at all. So, you can instantly throw the kidney on the healer and throw a cheap shot, or even if you're panicking, just cheap shot both targets. The other thing I want to talk about is sort of a mindset thing for 2v2 arena, and that is, if you're playing against a double DPS team in 2v2, a really good way to practice as a rogue is going into the game not with the mindset to just out-damage them and play like warriors and smash each other with big axes, but instead treat the other team like they have a healer anyways. Select a kill target and select a CC target. Playing around this, you'll get so much more benefit out of all of the utility spells you have, and you'll have way more success. Anyways, when I thought about this video, way too many ideas came to my head and it got way too complex. I tried to make it very brief. I could do way more specific, in-depth videos on this, talking about smoke bomb stuff, shadowy duel tricks, all that kind of stuff. But for this one, I'm keeping it really basic. If the video helped you, I would really appreciate a like. And if you're still watching right now, comment something about craft dinner. I really like those noodles. They're good. Anyways, guys, I will catch you in the next video. Have a great day or night.